Tom's story is a great example of the power of Ilmuk. And I met Tom when I was in Belfast, and I was working for an organization called Arts and Business. And the idea was to bring, well, I was quite a business person at that time, together with an artist, in the hope that we would learn from each other. And Tom's background was such that he was brought up in a very, very rough Protestant loyalist area in Belfast, where street violence was quite common. He was very close to his mother, and his mother always encouraged him not to get involved in fights. And he resisted for quite some time, but he got quite sick of the bullying. And one day, he just lost it, and he said he picked up the closest object he could find close to him, which was a lead pipe. And he started to beat around him. In that moment, he thought that this was power. Of course, he discovered later that that was not power. But he continued this violence for a number of years. He left school at 15 with no qualifications, no formal training, except that he was a thug. And fortunately for him, one day he did eventually get caught in an armed robbery, where he said the man that they had almost beat to death, fortunately, did not die. Tom was sentenced to a maximum security prison, where two things happened there that completely changed his life. Number one was meeting and befriending an IRA hunger striker. The second was discovering drama. Both, Tom said, taught him about the power of the stories that we tell ourselves. Here was this hunger striker, this IRA hunger striker, who was willing to literally starve himself to death for the story that he was telling himself. And drama taught Tom that we are all free to rewrite, rescript, react, redirect our lives any way that we choose. Tom left prison and eventually became a very successful actor in the West End in London, and he now runs an organization called the Educational Shakespeare Company in Belfast. And their mission is quite simple: understanding through film. He basically goes out into schools, and his latest project was in a maximum security prison where they used Macbeth as the basis, and they rewrote and redirected all the inmates, rewrote it, rescripted it, redirected this Macbeth. And the idea is to understand how Shakespeare also translates into their own life. And it's amazing the difference that it's made to these people's lives. A lot of them have come out of prison, and they are now leading very successful lives. Tom, his mission is quite simple. It's basically to inspire other people through the power of his own story and encourage them to use their creativity and imagination to create new lives and new choices for themselves. Tom, like Ilmuk, reminds me that there is a joy and a power in creation rather than in the need to compete. And his story reminds me that the joys of creation are everywhere to be found when we stop and take the time to notice them.